I'd like to do roll calls. Matter of fact, do you mind calling roll call? Thank you so much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ricardo Benavides.
Present.
David Bruce.
Present.
Blake Garrett.
Present.
Cindy Jo Newland.
Present.
Francis Gomez. Kevin Knapp. Dr. Patricia Lark.
Present.
Carlos Reina.
Present.
Nina Jo Saint.
Present.
And Glenn Winningham.
Present.
Thank you, Lilia. We have a quorum present. I'd like to make a motion to excuse committee members Kevin Knapp. He's ill today, won't be here. Also, a motion to excuse Francis Gomez. We have a second?
Second.
Excellent. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you so much. Next item is the approval of the minutes for the meeting that we had July the 12th of this year. Hoping that all the committee members have had an opportunity to review them. Anybody have any discussions on the minutes? Unless there are any questions? About anything we might have talked about? Anyone? I'll consider a motion to approve.
Second. I move that we approve the minutes.
Thank you so much.
I
Doctor.
second it.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Carlos, so much for seconding that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. We come to the public comment section of the day. Just a quick reminder, the public has, of course, the option to come up and comment. 3 minutes is the limit. I already have a few. Just want to remind those that haven't filled out the comment form, they're actually located on the side here. Just fill it out, and of course, just hand it over to me or to Delia. You can chat with the committee members. I'm going to do this in order as they were received. I think the first one that I have is Christina. Give me 1 second. Christina Camacho for the Safeway driving. Good morning, Christina. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Good morning, committee members.
Good morning.
My name is Christina Camacho, and I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to address you, the members, and present public comment at this driver training and traffic safety meeting today. As you are aware, the driver education and safety industry's oversight and regulation was legislatively transferred from the TEA to the TDLR beginning on September 1st of 2015. Before and since the transfer, Safeway Driving has invested many hours of time and effort to become familiar with TDLR and to have open conversations with TDLR staff concerning key issues within our industry. After now 1 year of the TDLR's oversight, Safeway Driving would like to take this opportunity to express our heartfelt thank you and utmost appreciation for the way that the committee members and all TDLR staff have made the effort to make our industry feel welcome and wanted. In addition, we want to thank the committee members and all TDLR staff for always keeping in mind the customer experience and safety of all lives that our industry touches when determining and deciding what is best for our industry. Safeway Driving wishes the committee members and all TDLR staff to know that we are willing to support the TDLR and the advisory committee in any way that we can, and we look forward to the continued progress in the years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you, Ms. Camacho.
Next public comment is from Nancy Fisher from the National Safety Commission. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, and good morning, members. My name is Nancy Fisher, and I'm here on behalf of my client, National Safety Commission. I would just like to bring to your bring to your attention the comments that Ken Underwood, the CEO of National Safety Commission, submitted on the rules. National Safety Commission is a company that operates, I believe, in all 50 states, and we would like for the commission and the staff to consider the barrier to entry that we believe some of your rules propose. Would like to be able to perhaps work with you to lessen up that barrier to entry. And with my conversation with Della earlier this morning, I think that we'd be able to submit some rules for you to take a look at that we would believe would clear up some of the issues that we have for that barrier to entry. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them at this time.
Thank you. Actually, we're not allowed to comment, Nancy, on the public comment, but we really appreciate you coming in this morning. Thank you so much. Very kind. Okay. Next person I have is Patrick Barrett. Good morning, Patrick. Is he here?
Good morning.
All right.
See all your smiling faces again. All right. Well, I'm Patrick Barrett, a driver ed in a box, a parent-taught course at Collision-Free Driver Ed, a professional driving school. First of all, I want to thank you all for the work that you did in reducing and simplifying the rules. That's a lot of work. You all have made a number of changes, and I've already submitted some of my thoughts about the proposed changes. Today, I'd like to call your attention to one specific rule that was added, a rule that impairs our ability to safely teach in the vehicle. The one that requires instructor mirrors to meet the same specifications as the mirrors manufactured by the vehicle. Specifically, I'm referring to Rule 84.42 Motor Vehicles, number 3, the part that talks about the specific modification of the mirror. I am very disappointed that this rule was added. It only serves to handicap those of us who choose to work in the vehicle, probably the most valuable phase of any student's driver education and training. This is a bad rule, and it reflects poorly on you all for inserting it into the rules. The requirement for an instructor's mirror is not new. In fact, it's commonplace in the industry. However, regulating the size of the instructor mirror is new, and this does not produce a safer driver. For decades, I have used mirrors that are smaller than the vehicle's inside rearview mirror. I have my reasons. Smaller mirrors don't take up as much space on the windshield as the normal vehicle mirrors. They're less likely to obstruct the student driver's view. They can be less cumbersome and actually more effective than larger mirrors. This is really a matter of instructor preference and should not be dictated by rule. Why am I addressing this rule? Because this rule actually affects how we train drivers to become safer drivers. The proposed rule is a hindrance, not a help. The instructor should have the option of choosing the tool that works for her, period. I find it fascinating that you overregulate, for who knows what reason, a simple tool that instructors use, an instructor mirror, a tool that helps them avoid crashes. At the same time, you completely ignore the one mirror, an eye check mirror or glance behavior mirror, which is a fundamental tool if your goal is to teach the life-saving techniques of effective glance behavior needed to produce safe drivers. I believe the best way to produce collision-free drivers requires the use of an eye check or glance mirror. Yet I'm okay with the rules not requiring this move. Why? Because most schools and instructors don't use a glance behavior mirror, or they have not been trained in its proper use. I see no sense in requiring it if they don't know how to use it. An instructor mirror is a tool, a vital tool, but nonetheless a tool. Dictating the dimensions of this tool is a mistake, and that part of the rule should be deleted. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Appreciate it. Good to see you again, sir. Okay. That's all I have for public comments, unless someone else would like to comment. I'll take your form, sir, if you don't mind. Anybody else that would like to talk for 3 minutes, you're more than welcome. Good morning, Roger Lott?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Roger. Absolutely, sir. Thank you. Yeah, grab a seat, sir. You're ready. You're next. Thank you.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'm from San Antonio, and I'm delighted to be here this morning. I've been wanting to come to the meetings here for many years. I've been helping the city of San Antonio and the state of Texas with different projects such as the driver's safety course and different curriculums and what have you. I come today to let you guys know I come up with another program that can help the overall issue for us to help reduce even more deaths in our Texas highways and a more sophisticated driver's curriculum for the course. I brought today just a sample, basically whoever that works with the committee on behalf of the safety and the course that the gentleman was speaking about. I have an all-new plan for that. And I would like very much to work with the people for us to get this started. All right? And that's it for today.
Thank you so much, Roger.
I'll leave a couple of copies here. And, you know, whoever wants to get in contact with me, please do so.
Thank you so much, Roger,
All right.
for your time, sir. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, before we continue to the next item, any other public comments this morning? No one else? Excellent. We'll move on to item E, the staff reports. Number 1, Executive Office. Good morning, staff.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Brian Francis, Executive Director with the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. It still sounds odd to say that title instead of Deputy Executive Director, but I'm getting used to it,
I like the new look, Brian. I just want to mention the new look, the new job. You look great.
I'm
Well-
not sure you're gonna be able to shrink and have to look like.
I've started adding bow ties to the repertoire as well, so, you know, there's a lot of great things I'm going to pick up from Mr. Coons. We miss him terribly, but he left us in good hands, and we're going to be all right. There's some great folks here. Mr. Chairman, I want to touch on a few things. I'm going to ask Brad Bowman, our General Counsel, to come up to the table. At the last meeting, Board Member Raina asked just for an update on the Morath case, and so Brad's going to give you what he can tell you at this point in time on that case. Absolutely.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members. I'm Brad Bowman, General Counsel for the department. The Ivy versus Morath case is a very important case, and we want to make you aware of it, bring it to your attention, and give you the update that we can. However, I want to be very careful not to delve into the merits of the case. It is a pending, ongoing litigation, and so I'm not going to be taking any position or really explaining much about the merits of the case. However, there are filings. The parties have filed briefs. We are in the process, the Attorney General's office is in the process of filing a reply brief on behalf of the state, and that will outline the state's position in the case. This was a case that started at the under the Texas Education Agency. The Morath in the style of that case is the Education Commissioner. The suit was brought by some plaintiffs who were hearing impaired and were suing the state, the agency, under Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act for accessibility for services for hearing impaired individuals. So that's really the issue in the case concerning driver education schools. The case went to, it was in federal court, went to the district court on a motion to dismiss the case. The judge in the district court did not dismiss the case, denied that motion. It went up to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals overturned that and sided with the state, and then the plaintiffs have appealed, applied for it's called a writ of certiorari, which is a fancy way to apply to appeal to the Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court agreed to hear the case, and that's where it stands right now. And the Attorney General's office is representing the state. TDLR has not formally been substituted as a party at this point for the Education Commissioner. We believe it will be heard in November before the Supreme Court, and preparations are underway for that. And that's about what I can tell you at this point.
November 7th.
It's November 7th is the date of the oral arguments before the U.S. Supreme Court. So to the extent that I can, I'll try to answer any questions. But that's an update and a very important case I want to bring to your attention.
Thank you for the update. Brad, any questions? Brad?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, what we'll do is we'll continue to have that item as an update, so as we move forward, we'll bring you up to speed on as we
Thanks,
can,
Mike.
okay? Mr. Chairman, on letter D, TDLR's legislative appropriations request, so that is the formal process that agencies have to go through to request funding for the next biennium that's coming up. Each state agency was asked to present a budget with a 4% reduction. So the challenge was put in there, and we met that requirement, identified about 14 positions going forward that we will have to do without. But you have the opportunity to offer what we call exceptional items. And that's saying, here's our baseline budget that is 4% less, but we sure would like to have this additional money to do these things. Our first exceptional item is requesting 25 employees for the Phase 2 programs coming over from the Department of State Health Services. Those programs are already in the pipeline. They're coming to us, so we're trying to make the money catch up to the programs coming to us. Exceptional items 2, 3, and 4 speak to reinstating 11 of the 14 positions that we're giving up, and we did them in order of priority. So we identified the enforcement and the inspection positions. We identified those that are licensing and communication positions, and those that are program-related positions. And so we are crossing our fingers on that. And then the fifth exceptional item relates to improving our IT security profile. We underwent an audit probably about 3.5 years ago. That audit identified some areas that we can improve in. We were able to get funding for the Phase 1 improvements in that. This is simply seeking the Phase 2 improvements. And then we're looking at getting some security improvements along our the exterior of our building downtown, mainly having some exterior lighting to light the alleyway and that sort of thing. So those are the things on the appropriation side. I was able to do my first appropriation hearing a couple of weeks ago. It was interesting. The group was not open to my humor, so I realized that I should not be too funny. I just had to be basically funny, not too funny over the top. But no, it went very well. The agencies still being very well received. They see us as a solution. So we could have a very, very interesting legislative session coming up. On strategic planning, Delia just handed out a document that included the elements, and this was in the strat plan that we provided to you guys last time. I just wanted to pull out those that are specifically drivers training related. There were 3 items that we identified. One was lowering the surety bond amount from $25,000 to $10,000. In the research that was done by our staff over the years, that $25,000 was too high. So it was something that we had not hit, so there was no need to have it at that level. And we felt it's appropriate to bring that down. The other one we've talked about a little bit is the 30-day pre-file your application before your expiration. And we wanted to line that up with TDLR's other programs. It's going to allow us to be a little bit more efficient and swifter in that. And then the other one is looking at the restrictions for a DWI. So if you're an instructor, it just goes back 7 years. But if you are a parent taught who's doing, for your child, there's a lifetime ban that the parent can't teach it. And we wanted to just align those to the 7 years. We thought just having that unified and uniformed was the best way to go. Those are the 3 elements that we're looking at statutorily. Obviously, as the session goes on, there may be other things that come up in the discussion, but these are the things that TDLR is going to be focusing on statutorily as we go forward. And I am getting some statistics, so I will come back to you on the contact center statistics. I definitely want to share with you successes that we're having in responding to the customers, whether it's through email, on the phone, Facebook, and in person as they come to the agency. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have for my presentation.
Thank you so much, Brad. Appreciate it. Next item, Compliance Division. Staff and program updates.
Who's this stranger walking up to the table with Lee? Who's this man? This masked man here?
Mr. Chairman, committee members, I'm Lee Parham in the Compliance Division. If you remember at the last meeting, Kathy Phillips sat here next to me and we made the announcement that she was retiring. Well, she retired. Now our report is extremely skinny for this particular meeting. However, in the future, it's going to be a lot better. I want to introduce Michael Ford Strawn. Michael had 9+ years with the Department of Public Safety. Some of you may know him in the driver's license division and record services. He was a manager and a specialist. He has a lot of parent-taught as well as overall driver education and training experience. And he's been here a week now, and he's jumped in head first, and we're extremely pleased with the hiring of Michael. So there's Michael.
Thank you so much. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
This is Carlos Reyna. I dealt with Michael by email only. We hadn't met, but very professional, very thorough. Glad you're on board.
I'm glad to hear that. I look forward to working with the committee, with TDLR and our groups out there, our driver education folks, driver safety and drug and alcohol. It's an exciting position. I've only been here since actually marks my 5th day. But it's been exciting, and I've gotten to get to know everybody in all the different groups and have some ideas laid out that I'm going to throw my boss's way, and hopefully next time we come in here, be able to wow you and show you significant progress into where we're headed. Any questions for me, though? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, so much.
Welcome.
Mr. Chairman, I feel like an usher. A black Corolla license plate BP8T006 needs to be moved immediately. You're about to be towed.
Can you repeat the license?
I can. A black Corolla, I just wanted to put the color of the vehicle in there. I think that's cool. A black Corolla license plate BP8T006. This is other duties for the executive director. Needs to be moved immediately. You're going to be towed.
Anyone?
Michael Strawn, you're going to be doing these announcements in the future, okay?
All right. Thank you. Our next item is Education and Examination Division.
Let's go, Shan.
Good morning, Chancellor.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. How are you?
Fine.
Good. I just want to say congratulations to a successful year. It's been great. The program, I enjoy working with my team, and I enjoy working with the industry as well as you guys. To start off with, TDLR is going to host a summit, a driver education and safety summit. That's going to be on Thursday, October the 20th at 10 a.m. As you know, that we have completed phase 1 of the rule alignment, and we want to thank everyone that has participated with that. Kudos to you guys, as well as pretty much everyone at TDLR has played a key role with this program. So phase 2 is coming up, and in phase 2, we're going to talk about the course of instruction. We feel that a lot of the material could be outdated, needs to be updated, but we want the feedback from the public and from you guys. We want you to help us help you. That makes sense. So I just want to give you guys a couple of highlights of from September 1, 2015 until present. As you know, renewal notices are being sent directly to the instructors. Those are going out 60 days, and this is instructors only, 60 days prior to their expiration date. It gives all of the information on what they need to renew their license. It gives them the fees and along with their continuing education requirements, what is needed for that. We also, the parent-taught program guide, initially, I believe in 2013, that went from about I think 29 pages. We cut 10 pages from that, and we also plain talked it, so it's easier for the student and the parent. Sometimes the parent may not be able to understand, so they just give it to their child to deal with it. So we felt that, yeah, would be helpful. We've participated in many workshops, several workshops. They've been very, very informative, and we feel that this was a good way to interact with the public. I know that the transition, nobody likes change, so it was really hard for the industry to accept that they were being moved to TDLR. And this was our way of reaching out to them and just showing them, kind of holding their hand, hey, you know, we're not the bad guy, we're here to help you and help you understand our rules. We have approved the first Spanish Parent Talk course, and with that being said, we now have enough staff members to be able to approve that type of curriculum. We didn't realize how much curriculum comes in until we started working with the program, and it's a lot. So we've streamlined the curriculum process, as well as we've streamlined the application process, just to help your business get going and moving. We've also developed standards for initial inspections. They were not consistent previously, and we just feel that during that inspection process, we're not here to come get you. We want you to be able to run your business smoothly, but follow the rules and regulations. That's why they're out there. For the initial inspection, we did create a new site visit, a school site visit form, and that form is where the industry schools can submit it to us, and they can request for us to come out, and it could just be to meet, to talk, to go over any type of rules, just basically questions, or so that they can understand how we're going to inspect them and answer so that we're able to just, I just drew a blank. I'm really sorry. So that we're able to go out there and just kind of answer any questions, and just so that they're not fearsome of us for the initial inspection. And that's, one last thing. Well, a couple of things. We're going to send out a survey to the schools that have been inspected. Our goal here is to continue to build core foundation while maintaining exceptional customer service. And any answers from those surveys, they are only seen by the facilitator and our director, Ray Pizarro. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. Is there a copy of that review form, pre-inspection form you're talking about? Is it available on the website?
Yeah, the new
we have a school that's going to be,
site.
so I'd like to.
That is, it is currently on the website under the driver education and safety section. Go under driver education, and it's under the forms.
All right,
it's listed under other forms.
And I just finished going through the renewal process. That was easy.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a question. Shanacy, you mentioned that instructors are being sent the renewal application.
Yes.
Anything on the school renewals?
At this time, it is only the instructors. We are, as what I believe is, we are waiting on a current program where we can house the school information, because there's so much, and that way those can start generating. So at this time, we're just gonna, they have to follow what the rule says by submitting them to us.
Carlos Reyna again. So, because our schools are about to go through renewal here in November, those forms are on the website, correct? All of the forms that are currently there, those are still the ones that transfer from TEA. Okay. So we are now all the forms are completed. They've been revised, but we are working with the IT division, or the web team, to have them posted. So it wasn't as easy as we thought it was, but they will be there shortly. So any forms that you guys do not have access to, you have our direct contact information, and we'll get those to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shannon Steele's outstanding presentation. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next item is licensing division.
Mr. Chairman, we can do licensing, but you want to pick up enforcement first?
My apologies, I skipped one.
I don't know if
Sorry
a
about
little
that.
foreshadowing
Bob
or
just
something
kicked
there.
it in, that's right. I think on purpose, I wanted to, sorry about that, Bob. I somehow skipped that. Thanks, Brian, so much. Absolutely.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Come up here whenever you would like. This is Robert Rennick from the Enforcement Division. We just have a few highlights since your last meeting. In July of this year, agreed orders were entered against 2 applicants for driver education instructor licenses. Both applicants were assessed $75 penalties for failing to submit fingerprints for the purpose of criminal background checks. Also, since the last meeting, the Enforcement Division has processed 2 requests for criminal history evaluation letters. One of the individuals was determined to be eligible for a driver education instructor license, while the other was not. The only other matters we have are the statistics for fiscal year 2016, which are on the documents before you. I think those are self-explanatory. So if you don't have any questions, then enforcement has completed its presentation.
Thank you so much, Bob.
All right.
Always good to see you. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
And now, licensing division. Hi, Chloe.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman and board members. I am Chloe Whalen with the licensing report. Let me give you an update for our year anniversary. Shannon was able to give you for the instructors. We have also provided the certificate online ordering. We have updated the forms to the TDR look, and the parent top packet is ordering online, and that is also being upgraded and working with our web team to do some different things with that as well. The other part of my report is your statistics, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chloe. Appreciate it. Very kind. Thank you so much, staff, by the way. Great information, great updates. We appreciate that. Our next item is item F, discussion and possible recommendations for publication in the Texas Register, the repeal and new rules of the 16 Texas Administrative Staff Code. Chapter 84, public comments reviewed from the department, website, advanced postings, and of course, the new rules are streamlined and so forth. I'll let Della and Ray. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, and everybody else has been bringing it up, but it's been a year since we have begun this journey, and on behalf of myself and all the people that have been working with you, we just really appreciate the effort and time you've put into this, the work groups, coming to the meetings, all of you attending the meetings. This has been a group effort, just like Shannesty said. I think it's touched just about everybody here at the agency, and I am so grateful to Ray and his team, and Brian and Carrie, and Shannesty and Chloe, and my grandmother, and everybody for getting us here today, because it's truly been a group effort. And I was largely just a scribe, and I'm trying to learn as much about driver education and safety as I can, but the experts that we have on staff now, plus you, have really made this as enjoyable as it could be, I think, considering the work at hand. But I've spoken a little bit to the chairman this morning about what I'd like to lay out for you today, and then you have some options. You have before you a chart that essentially compiles all the comments that we received after the website posting in some order. There is a method to the madness on here. The first 2 pages, and maybe 1 or 2 other comments, are essentially comments that we believe, the department believed after discussion with different divisions, that we probably should make these changes before we file the rules, because there are either some grammatical errors or some confusion, some stuff that might need clarifying in some of the comments that came in, plus our own review. Pages essentially 3, 4, 5, and part of 6 are comments that were very good comments, very observant, and they may delve a little bit more into substance of the rules, and so we can certainly go over all of that today. Or we could reconvene one or two of the work groups and have that to kind of delve into if you believe that some of these comments, if some of these recommended changes by the commenters merit changing before we actually file them. Because once we file them and they've gone through public comment, you can't really make substantive changes or we'd have to refile the whole thing again. So the time to make any substantive changes would be before October 12th. This is the day we plan to file them with the Texas Register. Then they would be published on the 28th of October. The 30-day comment would close on the 28th of November. And then sometime on the other side of that, we would reconvene your group to discuss the comments from the public comment and then decide if any changes should be made. And then go to the next commission meeting for adoption, and then the effective date would probably be sometime in February. But just as a reminder, once they've gone through the public comment period, if you decide after that point that, oh, we should have changed this and it's more substantive than just technical, there has to be a whole reposting and more public comment. So the time is now, either today for some of these, or I was recommending maybe a work group meeting before the 12th, maybe half a day, to just go through the ones that you think maybe merit a second look. Because you've had the work groups until now, so my assumption is you've probably dealt with some of these issues, but it may warrant a second look if you believe.
Absolutely.
So however you'd like me to do this, we can go over the first couple of pages of the comments. I've written them. I don't have the commenters' names, I just kind of went by rule number and the topic, the subject matter. These are the ones that we did recommend making these changes before we file them. We did receive various comments, and do you have any questions before we get started?
Anybody?
No?
Carlos Reyna, I do have a question because I'm in support of the work groups looking at these because I was in one of the work groups on the comments about motor vehicles and about the mirrors and so forth. And that was not discussed in the work group, and all of a sudden it appeared in rule, and I didn't know where it came from because we weren't involved in that. And in the comments, it's like we're to blame for it. We didn't adopt that.
Yeah.
That surprised me.
Well, that is one that we had actually thought was, because several people commented on that, not just you. And we have some proposed, maybe recommended language for today, or we could certainly take that back to the work group and flesh out the language. That is certainly something that we could, and willing to make that change. I think that would, I'm not sure, but that was, I had assumed it came from the work group.
No, this is not a say. That was a surprise at all, that there was a length. There's never been a length.
Okay.
Well, Della, we're at the point today that as we go through the discussion, that's something that could be pulled out before we go forward, so.
Yeah, and 8442. Yeah.
Ray Pizarro, Director for the Education Examination. The length of the mirror came from a few of our initial inspections when we've done on some of the new driver schools. And we felt that that second mirror, some of the ones we saw there, were so small that it could not have been adequate for an instructor to safely view and watch the student as they're driving to instruct them on their driving safety skills. So we made that proposal to put in there. But yes, I agree, and that's why I think Della was saying we should all reconvene between now and prior to the proposed rules, because there are other comments out here that Della was saying, I don't know if we should change this just on a whim without consulting with the work group. So it seems like it would be a good idea to knock that out and several others from the public comments that we've received so far. And I think that would be probably the best idea to do that instead of knocking it out here. Or we'll be here till maybe 7 o'clock.
I agree, Ray, thank you so much. What you've done, Della, and I appreciate that, basically the first page and the second page are simple things, grammar and punctuations like I can see here, things that we can easily change today, but some of the other ones are the ones that I would recommend, and I think Carlos feels the same way, where we should discuss them in the work groups. Committee members? I guess, let's just go ahead and start on some of the easy stuff.
Okay.
And then we'll see where, on maybe some of the things that we can move to some of those work.
I agree.
Groups. I think we'll find out exactly what we're gonna do. If we can continue, Della, thank you.
Okay, well, obviously, grammar and punctuation, and we'll continue to make those changes as we format. As we change rules, there's always going to be some formatting issues, so we appreciate those recommendations. Our rule coordinator is a stickler for all of that, so we will definitely make sure, and even once it gets to the Texas Register, there's certain rules that we have to follow just to get it filed. The second one might not be as easy. It might be something that's merits the work group, but we did get several comments on the difference between the clock hours in some different programs, some different licensing programs, 55 and 60 minutes in an hour. And I will say that kind of the underlying theme of a lot of these comments was people are taking a look at these rules under one roof, so to speak, maybe for the first time, and seeing things that perhaps were questioning, why is this different for safety and not for education and all that. So that's the whole point. You're seeing kind of what we see is bringing three rather disparate nations, kind of under one roof, and there's a lot of similarities. So we were trying not to reinvent the wheel every time. So I will point out that we could make this change, but it might merit a work group. It's, the statute doesn't limit us on this, so.
I know, so you're saying that it's not a statute that says that for driving safety, it needs to be 55 minutes?
Right.
Okay. Committee members, what do you all think? I'm surprised that it's not universal, that a clock hour isn't exactly 55 or 60 for every program.
In the work group, I was on, Nina kind of pointed out and discussed that. Nina, if you want to add something with to the differences in them.
Well, the difference, this is Nina Saint, the 55 is set on the under 18 timeline, and the 50 is set on adult learning. So if you look into that perspective, most of your public schools are set on a 5-minute break to get from one class to another. That's where that 5 minutes is. Now, over the years, people have kind of interpreted it different, but it's basically the bell rings, you get 5 minutes to get to the next class. The 50 for the driving safety and the drug and alcohol driving awareness was set for adult learning styles. So if you look into the research there, that allows the 10-minute per hour in that instance. So that's the background on that. And they've been treated just as separate because however, the drug and alcohol driving awareness, if it's used in the teen class, reverts to the 5 minutes, 2:55 actually. So because you can't have a conflict there of hours. But that's the background on that.
Is there any opposition to changing it? Anybody recommend that we make it a standard?
Which standard is mine?
Right, but which one would it be? 55 or the 50, or what do we have, 50 or the 55? Should we discuss it in the work group?
Mr. Chairman, I think this is David Bruce. I know during the work group there was a lot of discussion on this. Nani had a lot of good feedback as well. I know it's a very important topic, and I do think it deserves more discussion.
Excellent.
In the work group, if that's fine with you.
Absolutely, David, thank you. The committee members, I think we agree on that.
I think.
That's just one item, I think we'll just bring forward that, because we do need to discuss it further. Thank you. Thank you, Nina.
Okay, and I'll note which ones you've wanted to take to the work group.
Thank you.
The third one is an inconsistency that we should correct, and the commenter had pointed out, why is the definition of course provider in the rules section, the definition section, relating only to the drug and alcohol program? And they're correct. Really, the definition of course provider that's throughout the law is the one that's for safety. And so that should be the one that's shouldn't even be in the rules because it's already in the statute. We can move the definition of course provider that's now in the definitions and move it just to relocate it in this drug and alcohol program, because they do use that term again. And so it gets kind of confusing. The overarching course provider that everybody knows and most of you use relates to the course provider for safety. But they also use a course provider term that fits within the drug and alcohol program. So we can move it to that subchapter F and just say, in this subchapter, the term course provider relates to specifically to the drug and alcohol provider. So that was a good catch. So we will make that change.
Any questions on that with the members? Anybody? Thank you, Tim.
The next one is also a good catch because there was two terms that were very similar, just one word really difference in the definition. 84.2, they said, let's see, 10, it's actually 11 now because we relocated some words, but 84.2, 11, and 25. These two definitions were basically the same: program validation question and personal, course content validation question. And so we could redefine it, because course and program can be almost the same thing, and just come up with a new definition called validation question. A question designed to establish the student's participation in the course or program and comprehension of the materials by requiring the student to answer a question regarding a fact or concept taught in the course or program. So it would relate to whatever, kind of wherever you found a validation question. Or that may be a work group. It may be too simple.
There are two different things. One of them is a content application question and an understanding of material, and the other one is a proof that that same person is still sitting there,
Mm-hmm.
punching the buttons and watching the video.
But the definitions are written, I mean, the
They
definitions
need to be
are.
altered so
Yeah.
that they- yeah.
So we could, in other words, consolidating them
split
to
back
one.
apart. Don't
So we'll split them back apart and actually make them different, because right now they're not.
This is Nina. Cindy, I think if you look at the personal validation question, I believe that one is to show the identity of the student that's taking the course. I think what happened is drug and alcohol driving awareness is called a program. So when you pull the definitions from there and put them together,
Right.
and the driving safety is called a course. So in the drug and alcohol driving awareness, you had it called a program validation question. And in driving safety definitions, you had it a course validation question. So I believe it is the same. And then the personal validation is where they're asking personal questions.
Yeah, the personal, I think, is what you were thinking about, identifying the student that they're still there.
So I just think because the definitions were two different sections,
Yes,
they're
and
the
that's
same.
because of that. Is that not true, none of that's because we've used the drug and alcohol, a course within a course, so that's why it's called a program rather than a course.
Yes.
Add a different program into your course.
So we could start with the definition that we came up with, or take that to the work group, either way, but it does seem like the commenter was accurate in saying that they really are almost the same thing, except one describes program and one describes course.
Yes.
And I think Nina said they're the same.
They are.
Right, they just happen to be
Okay.
in two different definitions.
Okay.
Yeah, that got combined.
So we will make that change. Okay. One of the commenters was looking for the definition of inactive, which is defined in 84.216. So maybe that's, hopefully, if they need something fleshed out further, obviously when these things go to be, for the formal public comment, we can comment again and talk about it, but 84.42 relates to the mirror size, and we did receive a few comments on that it was too restrictive. We had recommended some language, but it sounds like this might be a work group issue.
Carlos, were you going to comment on this one? I know that you commented.
Yeah, I provided my comments, I don't have to say more on it, but I do believe we need to go to work group on this. In fact, I'd like to give examples to Ray and stuff of the different things that can work without trying to encompass that 10-inch thing. That won't work. It just simply won't work.
Do you have this?
No, I'm ready to go.
Okay.
That's good. I'm marking it in the room.
Okay. 8464, someone had pointed out that the driving safety instructor license requirement is more stringent than for driver education instructor. It is something that we could change. The commenter had recommended new language, lowering the requirement to 3 years for safety. So a person is qualified to apply for a driving safety or specialized driving safety instructor license who holds a valid Class A, B, C, or CDL driver's license, basically for the preceding 3 years. It says 5 now.
Yes, this is Carl Swain. I submitted those comments, yeah, because there's a difference. We're holding them to a higher standard, and I didn't think that was correct. I think they should just mirror each other.
Is that statutory, by the way?
No.
No.
No, it's not. So we could make this the recommended language that Mr. Reyna proposed, or take it to a work group if you...
Absolutely. I think it's great.
I would make motion that we just,
Thank
what
you,
I
Carlos.
recommend.
Thank you. Carlos moves to make that change there. Any second?
Second.
Thank you, Nina, so much. Appreciate it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Yeah, we'll make that change. I think it's great. It should be the same requirements. We agree with that. Thank you.
Okay, in 84.46C, a commenter pointed out, just a reminder that the 2-hour per day limit must apply to all schools, including AMI and parent-taught. We concur, we agree. I don't believe there's any action necessary in the rules. They just want us to enforce that 2-hour time limit. It says I think it's the one that says classroom instruction shall not exceed 2 hours per day. Yeah. Okay. Okay, the next comment, I really did not see any statutory or rule language that pertained to it, but they were concerned that the DE 964 must be in black ink, and they were requesting that they could use another color. Perhaps this was an old rule or statute, but certainly I'm not going to be responsible for telling you what color ink you have to use.
This is Nina Saint,
Yeah.
and the emphasis for that was from the Department of Public Safety requested us to use black ink on the forms that were presented to them.
Because they would copy easier, maybe?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's just been there ever since I've been doing this.
Carlos, this Carlos,
Black ink.
you're correct. That's where it came from, because back then, they made photostatic copies, and the blue ink sometimes would not show. Now, they don't mind it being different colors, because now they can make copies in color, and that reflects that it isn't a more accurate form. So, yeah, that doesn't need to be there.
That's good, because I've wrecked my eyes looking for that requirement in the statute and the rules, but I didn't see it. Okay. 8472, this was a good comment that we would need some language, but recommend clarifying what type of alcohol and drug offender education program instructor license would be needed. They were concerned about the quality of that person. And that's in 84.72. We could recommend the applicant may submit a copy of a current, I don't know if it's passed or two, but Texas Department of State Health Services Offender Education Counselor or Instructor License. Soon we'll be over that program, so it'll have to change to here, but would that suffice?
Yes, Cindy Newlands. That is the language that I helped put in the work group, and that was the entire intent, but knowing that DSH is coming to TDL and that was the purpose.
Okay, and should it say current or past? I mean, will they accept both? Because I think that's how it reads now.
The Department of Health Services, you update your license every 2 years, and you update with 20 CPE hours. So that's going to be something very different.
8472-4.
Yeah.
How past is past, I think that's a whole different ballgame. I think it would need to be.
Current? Okay. it says currently, I mean, it says now, current or past. So we could certainly make that change. It's subject to comment as the rules get published, but. Okay. Okay. So we'll make that change before we file. And you don't have to move on every one. We can just wait and do them as a group at the end. Okay, 8444 D1A. This commenter was concerned that the new rule would prevent the preparation and delivery of TDLR approved continuing education by a licensed driver education school owner to their employees. There was some words that were taken out from the old text to this new version of the rules, and it says, it used to say that it was provided by an approved driver education school. This is certainly open to discussion. I think the intent was to broaden and not require that the person would have to go to the driver education school only. There's maybe other options for the person to go get this training, but it's certainly open to discussion. It certainly doesn't prevent them from going to a driver education school.
And the recommendation again, Della, is to change some wording?
Well, the recommendation, they were just concerned, and I can find the comment, but the concern was that by taking out the words provided by an approved driver education school, the commenter said, now they can't, they seem to believe that you can't go to the driver education school, which was not the intent. The intent was to broaden or increase the options for the person to get that CE training. It doesn't stop them from going to the licensed driver education school to get it.
So again, the question is, do we remove those words or do we leave them there because of the confusion?
The words have been, the way the rules read now, the words are not there.
Okay.
They were in the old, that would limit the person to going to a licensed or approved driver education school.
But it doesn't limit it, though, is what you're saying.
No, it doesn't.
So-
Now it does not.
Right.
Yeah,
Any
Glenn
questions?
Winningham,
Yes.
driver ed instructors, correct me if I'm wrong, driver ed panel members, there's many other, or not many other, but there are other options to get your continuing ed and driver ed currently, instead of not just going to the driver ed school that you're licensed by or sponsored by.
And that's
Yeah,
the
so
change is
there-
what
it
that's the
doesn't-
intent.
I have a question. This is Nina Saint. I think taking that out at that point, but I think in the last of the sentence on A, or the school owner providing the instruction shall sign the form. However, if you look at B, which says credit may be given for any of the following, that doesn't list anything submitted by a school owner. And maybe that's where the confusion is. If you're only going to limit it to the I, the 2I, and the 3I, since I don't know the proper name of those little things, it needs a fourth one that says a school owner can submit a program for approval.
Sure. By not adding it, I guess people just thought it was excluded. I think that's where the confusion was.
D1A. Oh, so you would add a little small
Yes.
4.
Yeah, see, B, all those things listed by B
Mhm.
doesn't indicate submitted by a school owner.
Okay. So can you recommend some language? Credit
So
may
it
be given for any of the
successful
following.
completion of the 4-hour course submitted by a school owner.
Right.
Okay. Successful completion of the 4-hour course.
An approved 4-hour course provided by a driver education school.
That's, so the wording is back.
Well, that
Yeah,
wording
in a
is not
different
back,
wording.
but
That's great.
but we actually took some wording out that should have stayed, it sounds like, so.
That's
Okay.
great.
Okay. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. A commenter was concerned in 84, 82, A, 2, B, O, and P, which is basically a list in the enrollment contracts, some things that need to be included in the contracts. That the driver's license number And there's something in there regarding the rate for that charged classroom lessons and in-car lessons could be taken out. It's more of a business decision for the school. And we are always about, you know, limiting the impediments and burdens as best we can. So we would recommend those changes as they were submitted to us, if we need to go look at them. 84, 82.
This is Carlos Reyna. I support that change.
So in B, we would remove the driver's license number entirely. And then in O and P, we would take up that corresponds to actual instructional costs.
Excuse me, this is David Bruce. In the work group, I thought there was some discussion regarding the need to have the rates for the classroom versus the in-car portion.
Yes, you need the rate, but what you don't need is that corresponds to the actual instructional cost. So it would stop after the rate per classroom lesson and the rate per in-car lesson, and just stop it there.
That limits you. I mean, that limits a business owner, so.
And that's there so the refund per clock hour can be processed.
Any other questions?
Okay, 84-100, a commenter had said that they would prefer that we always would give advance notice on our on-site inspections that we do. That is not in the statute, but we believe the way the programs work best if we can make announced and also unannounced site visits or inspections. So we recommend no change, but it's up, you can certainly have a discussion.
Anybody? We need to discuss, actually, I think it's uniform, that's the way you all do it for everyone, so.
Well, this is Carlos Reyna. I support the comment made by the school that turned it in because I understand her point of not being available. And if you kind of put on the spot, if they come in and I need you to deal with me, and I said, no, I can't deal with you. I've got to take care of my students. So there's a conflict there, all right? And we were always provided notice previously by TEA, and I don't see where there was a problem. When it came to a violation or something, yes, a surprise inspection or come in, so without notice, that's called for. But for routine inspection, I don't see what the problem is. If they're afraid we're going to cover something up, if anything, we'll straighten up our records before you get there, that's for sure, okay? And so I don't see the reason for not having it the way it used to be. Give us some notice. That's just my opinion.
Anybody else, David?
This is David Bruce. I mean, I assume can you tell me what's the reason for the inspections? I mean, is it?
So, Ray Pizarro, Director of Education. The reason for school inspections is to ensure compliance. So we have inspectors that will go out there for all different type of schools that we regulate to ensure that the school is teaching and performing the way they should be performing as their curriculum was approved. In other words, we don't want to go in there and they're teaching golf. You know, so and we have schools. You know, some of our inspectors will write up schools because either hours were wrong for different industries, just different things that we find, or there's students in there that should not be in there. So yes, you know, as you all know, rules are there for those who are trying to break them, and we're trying to make sure that people are following the rules, and we're working on a level playing field. But if we have announced inspections, then it kind of defeats the purpose because everybody's going to be ready. It's almost like you're going to say, we all know that the cop is on the end of 130, so don't go past the speed limit. But once you don't know they're there, we're going to speed, aren't we? Because I do all the time. So I'm just saying the reason we have those unannounced inspections is just to, it's not a I gotcha, but it's just to, we want to make sure that we're all are working together.
Ray, I hope you mind me asking, you're inspecting schools that, well, before, like I said, we were actually notified
Now we're getting these surprise inspections, so to speak. Have you noticed, what is it that you're experiencing? when you go to the
We
store?
have not started the periodic inspections.
Okay.
We started the initial inspections. And it's not, I wouldn't call it a surprise inspections. This is a periodic. And as you guys know, we discussed this in the work group. We're going to try to do this once a year for every school. And it's just a periodic inspection to go in and say, hey, you got your records together. What are you guys doing? How many students do we have? How many instructors? Those kinds of things. And we have the checklist with, you all agreed and created the checklist on what we're going to inspect. In fact, we're going to put that checklist out on the website so all schools will know what we're looking for. To have an example of that, you can go right now to the cosmetology website and look at the school checklist inspection form, and it'll be out there. You'll see all the schools are aware. If an inspector comes in, these are the things they're going to look for. So we have that for your industry as well, and it's a living document. Nina's helped us with some of the details of that. I think others have helped us with what we need to look for. But we're relying on you guys to tell us, if we go in there for an inspection, what is it that we want to make sure that all schools are doing the same and ensure that they're complying with the state laws and rules.
One last question, if you don't mind. I apologize. What happens if you go and let's say you go see a school? Because I am concerned too, Carlos mentioning that student or the school, they might not be prepared, or like, what happens if you go to a school and let's say somebody's not there, or they're not prepared, or they're in class? What kind of action does TDLR take? Come back.
When you say they're not
Well, let's say you go today to go do an on-site inspection, and they're not there, they're not ready for the inspection.
If nobody's there, of course, the inspector's going to come back. They're not going to sit there and wait. But we've never, in the past, when we go, for example, cosmetology or barber school, we're not there looking for the owner. You know, we go in there and we say, we're TDLR, we're here to do a periodic inspection. I just need to see your records, and most of the time they'll have somebody, oh, let me get you the lead instructor who's here. They'll pull those records. They have an office person. They grab the records. We don't interfere with the day-to-day business of the school. We don't tell everybody, stop what you're doing, you know, that kind of thing. We go on, again, according to the checklist, and look at those things, and we're in and out, and we do our job, and we leave a sort of a, if you call it a receipt, but we call it a POI, a proof of inspection. I'll let the school know, here you're in compliance, you're doing a great job, you know, great, or here are some of the things that you need to fix, and make sure you fix it. Keep in mind, a lot of these inspection, it doesn't mean, although you've done something wrong, it doesn't mean as an automatic you're going to enforcement, we're shutting you down. You know, it's here are the things you're doing wrong, fix them. And we're here, again, remember, as Shanacy said earlier, we're here to help you. The Education Examination Division is here to help the school maintain compliance. We're trying to build and take the education out to you guys. So these periodic inspections is a helpful thing. Don't see it as something of we're coming to find you and get you. It's all about helping you guys, and if we see something wrong, we're going to identify it. Are there schools out there that we regulate that are doing the wrong thing? Sure. Are there some of them that don't want to fix and don't want to play? Sure. And those will go to enforcement, and those folks will deal with the enforcement division. But most of the schools, they're going to do the right thing, and they're going to say, oh, that was just a mistake, and we agree, well, just fix it. Next time we come back out on a next periodic inspection, you'll see, you know, that piece of non-compliance was fixed, and we get it done. As Shanacy also mentioned, we have what we're calling a site visit program that we put into place. And we have an education liaison that will go out there prior to an inspection and just help the schools. Say, hey, the inspector comes over, these are the things they're going to write you up. You need to fix them, get them done. So we have a form where school can request us to come out and visit with them and help them. So again, we're not here to, I gotcha, we want you to do the right thing.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
May I make a comment? Or I even ask a question, right? Cindy Newman, I've heard repeatedly in the last year that we've been here that your intent is to help us be better business people and to continue to comply with what the state asks us to do. I teach every night, Monday through Thursday, in the classroom. If you were to come to audit, if you will, if you want to use that term, to come in, it would stop my clients from having class. It would be a different situation. So in my head, I understand I'm a teacher, so I'm thinking in terms of course you want to have a drop-in walk-through visit from your appraiser that is looking, you don't have that heads up to do the dog and pony show, but you do have a window where maybe I wouldn't be scheduling myself that week in that window, so that I would be available to go with you and be around with you, and someone else would be in that situation. So it would not harm my business, it would not harm my clients, and it would not, alter any kind of curriculum, but it would be a growth situation instead. So that's what I would wonder if we couldn't look at. And my question is, are there other audits or compliance visits that you're aligning with that are handled in the same manner?
Remember, we have, let me just give you this.
I mean, other departments.
Sure.
My question is.
We have 500 schools for Barber and Cause, and it's mandated by law that they be inspected every 6 months. So with that said, we are going to get other schools as well, and now driver training schools. It would be very difficult, especially when we have some mandate and now we're going to implement, these schools must be inspected once a year. You have to understand, we have a report management that will indicate to us, these are the schools that need to be inspected next. These are what's coming up for inspection. It'll be very difficult for us to give you, I'm going to be here on this day based on what's being inspected currently, because some inspections, for example, in cause schools, some of them may take let me take that back, maybe 4 to 5 hours to inspect, and a driver training school may take maybe an hour or so or less. It's almost like, many schools are out there. Your school, Mr. Chairman, would not be the only school there available, and we can only dedicate our services to you and say we're going to come out on this time. It's almost, like that Time Warner, we're going to give you that, hey, I may be there, I may not be, and I hate that, I get it, but, we have a large group of schools that we're dealing with, and we're trying to make sure that we meet those requirements, because we have a duty by law on some of the schools that we have to do by law. Sure. We can't miss those. And some of them is by rule. So we try to schedule things so that it will meet state laws and rules and meet the requirements we need to meet, and of course not be a burden on the schools as well. We never try to disrupt business. That's not the point of the inspection. And I understand what you're telling me, but
I thought possibly, the window effect could, that your people are going into, as far as my remote area, surely you schedule that in advance and know that. Now popping out to Austin, that's something different, but
we'll be there sometime between January and December. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, I would think surely it takes me an act of Congress to get on a plane and get here, so.
Ray, this is Colonel Traina. I just, let me just give you an example. The industry we have is pretty much seasonal. Summer times we're open, we're rocking and rolling and so forth. In the fall, most of our schools are really probably open afternoons only. For example, a school in Kyle, open from 3:30 to 7. There's only one administrative staff person there to man the office. If you came in and started asking for records and they need to show you this, show you that, it is affecting business. The class is from 4:30 to 6:30. That instructor's stuck in the class. So if we knew you were coming, then the manager can be there to assist with whatever you need, and the girl can continue to answer telephones, take care of customers that come in, and do business. And that's the problem, that the majority of our industry is a part-time situation. You may have a main school that answers phones, but all the branch schools don't operate that way. So for inspectors to just show up and said, I need your attention right now, we may not be able to do due diligence or provide what you need at that time.
Do you guys want to tackle this during the work group?
Absolutely.
Let's kind of have a little bit more discussion, and we can shed some more light, we'll have that discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. By the way, we're going to take a quick 10-minute break. Do you mind? Thank you. Della, Ray, I hate to have you guys come back. 10-minute break. Everybody.
Okay, we're back at the top of page number 3 of the handout, Rule 84.90. The question had come in, do driver education schools and safety schools and all schools have to have a classroom, or I guess a brick and mortar, to offer online courses? At this time, the statute in 1001.3541 appears to require approval as a school before they can offer the online courses, which does require a physical location. So I wouldn't be able to change that at this time, but it's certainly something to consider, either in if industry has a statutory change for the legislative session or something like that.
Thank you. Any comments? Thank you so much, Dora.
We did get a comment in to allow the education to be located in some places of religious worship. There is an exemption. It's probably might not apply to all churches or places of worship, but there is an exemption for certain large nonprofits. But that's kind of, I think I'm learning that's the AARP exemption or something like that, because they may offer some kind of driver training or education. It's something that, I don't know. But we don't recommend any change at this time. It's certainly up for discussion at some point, but we thought more of a philosophical discussion might not be appropriate at this time.
Any questions, committee members? Thank you so much, Dora.
In 8460C, there was a concern that the rules relating to the purchase and sale of driving safety schools and course providers are overly burdensome, and a restraint on trade. Those are some of the rules that we did look at, going through with the work groups and everything, and there are some requirements for department approval and certain things, and it does seem like the purchase and sale requirements for the safety schools and course providers do require department approval, and the sale of a driver education school does not. I don't know historically why the discrepancy might have been there and why certain rules seem more stringent. We felt like for today's meeting, that might be more of a bigger discussion, either for a work group or to reconvene and look at that. You could recommend the change. I took into consideration there are some bond requirements for driver education schools and course providers, but not for the safety schools. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But whatever you'd like to do with this issue. And I believe Ms. Fisher was going to send some recommended language as well. So we can maybe take a look at that if we reconvene the work group.
That'll be perfect for the work group. Thank you.
Okay, a comment came in that just said in our list of requirements for, I think, the enrollment contracts, to require that all contracts have a beginning date and an end date. That seems burdensome to ask for, basically to make sure your contracts are legally sufficient, so we did not recommend any change at this time. A comment came in that the bond requirements generally are too high. If we look at the statute in 1001, 207, 208, and 209, those are set, whatever bond requirements are set in statute, so that would need to be changed legislatively, not through rule. Okay, 8440. Some comments came in on the advertising requirements relating to the school name and having both the school name and license number. Actually, the rule says or, either the school name or the license number. We recommended no change. We believe it's reasonable to require either the name or the license number. We got a comment that asked a couple questions. What if TDLR is late issuing a renewal license? A late issued license doesn't absolve a licensee of his responsibility to know when the expiration date of their time is. So we can certainly have a comment on that, but we didn't recommend any changes. You're still responsible to make sure that you pay and renew on time. Their other comment was the 10-hour behind the wheel limit was too restrictive. We looked, and where I say it's within the federal guidelines, that may not be entirely correct because we didn't actually see it in a lot of the federal statutes we looked at. 10 hours we believed was reasonable for someone to teach, hour after hour after hour, but that certainly could be something to discuss if it's an issue.
I know one of the work groups talked about that, so we'll just
Mhm.
continue to discuss. I thought we had resolved that one already.
Yeah, we did.
That's okay.
Excellent.
Well, we had recommended no change, but certainly it could come up, but.
I thought we discussed that there was no change.
did.
10 hours.
It went, we advised it to go to 10 from 8 right now.
Right. So we're
This-
good.
This person, isn't this person
Yeah, we're good.
asking to completely take
take
off?
it out, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
I don't think that's wise if it's behind the wheel.
Again, we'll leave that for the work group, but we need to discuss it further. Dilla, thank you. Any questions, by the way, committee members? Thank you.
8443, a commenter had recommended deleting the word male from 8443 D5. Let's see, and that's regarding sending the certificate. Let's see, driver education certificate. It says, schools shall issue and mail driver education certificates using a block of identifying serial numbers, etc. In the statute, in 1001-055, 055A2, the law simply requires the driver education school or parent-taught course provider to print and issue the certificate. There is no requirement to use mail. So we could change that. Not sure if it was delved into in the work groups, but this is could be seen as an impediment to business.
I think we had talked about it,
Yeah.
and I think we
Believe
should
we did.
continue to talk about it on the work group
In
front.
work group, we
agree.
delayed to you to look it up and see if it was
Mhm.
statute or not. And so-
The only statutory requirement to mail anything right now is the duplicate safety. Yeah.
Safety.
Yeah.
Driving
That's
safety.
the only statutory
Driving
requirement to
safety.
mail anything, and it says mail or commercial delivery. But for these certificates, there's no requirement to mail them.
Is there a statutory requirement to print? The course provider has to print?
It says print and issue.
I think we should talk about that in
Yeah.
the work
Yeah,
group, because
well,
that doesn't make sense now.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense if you don't have to mail it. Definitely, we'll leave that for the work group.
Okay.
Okay?
And we're working on a few cleanup measures on drafting a bill that may, our
But remember-
strat plan, issues to kind of clean up some of these things too.
Remember, the statute says issue, so it's leaving it up to the provider to issue that to the person, whether it's by mail, electronic mail,
Yeah.
however that may be, but it's not specifically saying you have to put a 32 stamp on there and mail it.
47 now.
Oh, 47.
Yeah.
I just showed my age, huh?
I like your 32 though.
It's not going there with 32 cents.
That's good.
I'm surprised you knew that.
Okay, in 8444, so we will make that change to take the word mail out. 8444, the question came in about who can be a teacher of record. Teaching assistants of full may not be a teacher of record, or there was a question mark. So we can certainly discuss that or take that to the work group.
We're gonna move that to a work group for sure.
Okay.
Thank you. Any questions, committee members, on that one? Thank you, Deb.
Someone in 8445 and 8446 had recommended deletion of student progress and certain timeframes on attendance and some of these required record keeping. I will remind everyone that some rules on student progress and attendance are required in 1001-204B5, and the law does require certain attendance and progress records be kept. They don't dictate exactly what should be in them. So we recommend no change at this time unless there's something that's in that list that you really feel strongly should not be there. But there has to be something by rule that talks about attendance and...
This is Colonel Swain. I think in the POI is where it states what the progress requirements. Am I correct, Nina? And so I think unless that is changed, we really can't, or shouldn't remove them from rule because we're complying with POI requirements.
Okay. So we won't make any changes at this time.
That's correct.
Okay, 8480, again, another comment relating to names and advertising. They wanted to just remove some of the subsections. Let's see. Under general business practices, talks about don't use a deceptively similar name, use of other names other than your approved school name, how a branch office shall conduct business, and a multiple classrooms. We felt like that each of those A, B, C, and D were different enough that they each should stand on their own and remain there. It wasn't all just one, don't advertise deceptively. So we recommend no change at this time.
Members?
This is David Bruce, I agree. I think it's pretty clear.
I know we had talked about it in one of the work groups already, and I think we all agree. So we agree with your recommendation.
Okay.
We'll take a
In the next
vote later. Thank you.
group, 84, 81, 82, and 83.
Can we go back to 8450? Did we miss
Sure.
that one?
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped that. 8450, and that was your comment, I think.
No,
Recommending
actually, somebody
deleting
else's.
A and B, and F is confusing. Let's see. 8450. It's in the parent-taught driver education. No, that wasn't your comment, that was somebody else. Somebody had recommended deleting A and B from the parent-taught program requirements. That seemed very substantive to us. F, it says, we could actually change the text of F to say all classroom instruction must be taught under one program, either parent-taught or through a licensed or public driver education school. I know that the work group had recommended in phase 2 that there would be a discussion of that classroom instruction, splitting that out. So be aware that if we make that change they recommended in F, that it could be subject to changing again if the curriculum changes. So do you want to leave A and B intact there?
Members? Something we want to talk about in work groups? I mean, I know that we've already addressed this.
Yeah, this is David Bruce. Just to clarify, I think this was addressed, correct? And we were going to do this in what we call phase 2. Is that correct?
F, yes.
Yes.
That's
F.
it. So that's it.
Correct.
We'll leave it for phase 2 as we
Okay.
had agreed before. Thank you.
And leave A and B alone? Yes.
That's correct.
Okay, back to names and advertising. Again, we had decided just to leave them there. 84, 81, 82, and 83. Again, the commenter was concerned and wanted to remove some requirements for the record-keeping, enrollment contracts, and student complaints. And we believe, again, that certain records are required, and if they are tied to the POI, we might not should change them at this time.
On the comment still, I'm sorry, anything specific that they wanted to remove? I mean, was it? I know
I'd
that-
have to look at the exact comment and I can find it, but sometimes they wanted to remove the entire section.
Right.
And I think they wanted to remove the entire student complaint even being in the rules.
Right.
But we thought that's not statutory, but we thought it was a consumer-friendly, telling a student how to make a grievance and,
Sure.
you know.
Any questions?
Probably a business practice a minimal business practice,
Absolutely. Any questions? Thank you so much.
Again, on the top of page 5, a commenter expressed wanting to delete the entire subsection for facilities and equipment, inspections, general, and initial inspections of the driver education schools before operation. I believe they recommended that the inspection could be done once the school is open within a reasonable time, but the statute does require that locations be inspected. It's a condition of getting the license to operate the school. So we recommend no no change.
Members, any questions?
In 84-200, the commenter recommended deleting the cancellation and refund policy section. The law does require in 1001.401 some kind of refund policy. It could be that what's in the rules is too much or should be changed at some point or pared down, but there has to be some kind of refund policy. So it's open for discussion if you want. We had recommended for now to leave it as it is.
Work groups.
Work group?
Okay.
Okay. There may be some procedures in there that do seem overly burdensome, you know.
Mhm.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Some people, several commenters on 84-300 had commented on different aspects of the fees. And we traditionally do a fee study here at TDLR when we get a new program and get it up and running, and go through and really analyze and make sure that the fees justify, you know, the program justifies the fees and the cost. So we have left the fees intact the same way we brought them over for now, but it is definitely something that is at play. In 8472D, and there's a statutory mention of 1001-302, someone had been concerned why of the discrepancy in license periods for driver education and the drug and alcohol program instructor license renewal periods of 1 year versus for the DE instructor versus 2 years for the drug and alcohol inspector. The statute does require that the driver education instructor and the driver safety instructor cannot exceed 1 year. But as far as the drug and alcohol, that is totally by rule. So it is something that could be changed back to 1 year, but there may be some justification for that. I don't believe there's a fee for the DAP instructor license. Is that correct?
I would advise to not make any change on this until we start looking at the fee changes so that we could, if it's going to go to a 1 year, maybe the fees need to be adjusted for a 1 year period, et cetera. And that's some of the discussions we've had.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any questions?
So we will leave that for now?
Absolutely.
Okay, a commenter expressed concern that there still were no rules for what the drunk driver program, sorry, the younger driver program, which is referenced in 1001-111 in the law, and it says that we shall set up some rules for drivers younger than 25. And so it certainly could be that we develop a curriculum. It just has not been done.
We could do that on phase 2.
We could do that in phase 2.
Very nice. Any comments? I agree. Phase 2 is going to be
Okay, at the bottom of page 5, this commenter had expressed concern that we needed clearer definitions for the difference between and this was a lot of acronyms here, but a DSIT, driver safety instructor trainer, and an IDC, which is an instructor development course driver safety instructor. So in their world, this commenter had said that the National Safety Council has very stringent requirements. So it's something we could look at in the work group, or at some time. We could make the changes. I did not know if today to get in that substantive discussion.
Absolutely. I think that we should talk about it in the work groups. It certainly needs to be covered because I've read those definitions and it should be clear. I think for work groups members, right? We should leave that one and come up with some good definitions for those licenses. Thank you.
Okay, at the top of page 6, there was a concern that a student's permit, I think this commenter believed that a student's permit should be canceled if they transfer in mid-course completion. For example, they've only completed 8 hours, I think for the online course. Is that what they were talking about?
No, for the first 6 hours.
The first 6 hours. If they don't finish all 32 hours, should a partial refund be given? And we had thought that there should be a broader discussion of these issues, that only DPS can cancel the permit. I think it was a parent taught. No?
Was it parent taught? No. So I think what we all have to we all have to remind ourselves that we only regulate the courses, the course providers, and approve the curriculum. That permit that's being issued is by DPS. If there's any cancellation, we have no authority from the department, from TDLR, to cancel such permit. If any of that cancellation, that would happen at DPS.
Right.
Right, don't we have a rule?
I think, yeah,
That
they did.
if they do not complete classroom, we are to send in a DL 42 form?
And this was for online providers. The specific comment did relate to online providers. They said, online providers are not following through with their, quote, incomplete students. We have a number of students come to us in various stages of online classes, such as 8 hours complete, 6 hours complete, 12 hours complete, and then they want to switch to us. Well, that's all well and good. However, if they don't transfer and the student doesn't complete the program, they should have their permit canceled. This is something that in-class facilities have to do if the student does not finish their full 32 hours of classroom. Also, in-class facilities are responsible for a partial refund if the student does not complete the classroom. Are online providers issuing partial refunds to those students that do not complete their program? So there does seem to be a discrepancy that a in-class facility does have to issue some kind of refund, and maybe the online doesn't, but it may be for a work group. Yeah.
But they're under the same rules. So whether they're doing it or not, they should be doing it.
Okay.
Because the same rules apply both. If they're an alternative method of instruction for driver's ed, they still have that same
So
rule.
are they meaning online as in PTDE, or are they meaning as in AMI?
They just said online providers. That's all I could glean. Yeah.
Some are one and some are the other.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely worth discussing it in the work groups.
Yeah, because we do want to
I
make
have
sure the rules
questions.
align, that they're the same requirements.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, that same commenter was concerned that parents and students seem ill-prepared for the next step, road testing through DPS, apparently after a parent-taught class. They said most parent-taught providers do not step the parent and student through the process of road testing through the DPS or third-party skills tester. As a third-party skills tester, I can't tell you how many times the parent comes to us and asks for assistance in filling out the PTDE 964 forms, something that should be the responsibility of the course provider and parent. Most parents and students are ill-prepared for this next step. So we would need a broader discussion of this issue. It doesn't seem like it can be solved by rule. You know, maybe if that's something that this particular school or person has to continue doing, maybe they should just build it into their business model or answer the questions or help the people. You know,
Right.
I don't know if a rule could really solve this.
Ray Pizarro, let me remind you all, we had a brief discussion, and I think we probably need a more lengthy discussion in the work group. We remember we discussed about from a parent-taught provider, if they're going to send the DE 964, it should not be sent to the parent blank. We talked about that the provider should at least fill in that top portion on who this DE 964 should be issued to once it's completed. So we had that discussion, and maybe we can maybe solidify that in a larger discussion here upcoming.
That's great.
And that, so we can put that down for the work group.
Yeah.
Yes.
Going to be busy.
Absolutely.
So the last one was another discussion about parent-taught, parents authorizing a parent-taught driver education certificate without parent being a course provider, that only a course provider should verify course completion. And again, we may need a broader discussion of that issue, but it was a good proposal to require that at least certificates not be issued, blank. So we could take that together to the work group.
Excellent.
So that concludes the comments that were posted on the web. So as a reminder, we can schedule a work group meeting sometime between now and October 12th, to giving at least a week after maybe the work group meets to get everything ready by the 12th. You, then the full body of you wouldn't see them again until after the comment period at the end of November. Because we wouldn't have another board meeting per se until the public comments come in.
Well, I'd like to consider a motion to have you all make those changes.
The ones
that we've agreed to
okay,
today.
right.
Consider a motion?
I move that Pat Lawrence, I move that the agreed changes be made by the committee.
Okay.
Thank you, Doctor. We have a motion on the floor?
I second.
Thank you, Carlos, so much. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, this is David Bruce. Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
You said something that was interesting to me. So we take some of these items to the work groups.
Mhm.
And if you're not on a particular work group, we as the advisory committee will not see the outcome of that until they're
After
published.
publication. You can
Okay.
certainly, you'll see it when we publish it.
Okay.
What I meant was you won't meet as a group again until after the 28th of November to talk about them again.
Okay. Thank you.
And Della, correct me if I'm wrong, they will have the benefit then of all the public comments received as a result of the publication. And so you're really going to have a bigger picture of what's being discussed.
With
Thank
the
you.
caveat that if there's something huge and substantive you want to do after the rules are published and the public comment goes, then it would require making that change, but we'd need to republish them. So it could happen, it just might delay things, but if something's important enough, of course, we could do it again, but we'd rather not. We'd rather address everything on the front end. So.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's it?
And then I guess at some time before we adjourn, you want to pick a date for the work group, or just get with Delia, and then sometime after today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. As a matter of fact, that'll be the next item on the agenda. If we can, just throw that in there and decide. Thank you so much, Della.
I do have a
Great.
question.
Appreciate it. Yes, absolutely.
I'm sorry. Because I had submitted this change under teaching assistants and teaching assistant full,
Mhm.
and the supervising teaching assistant full. Under A of each one of those, it relates to the teaching assistant certificate from the Texas Education Agency. Their rules for a teaching assistant full certificate are different than the rules for a licensed instructor teaching certificate. So when you look at A and B under each of those sections, when you look at do they have to have the Texas Education Agency teaching certificate and one from TDLNR, or just one?
I would think just one.
But there's statements,
Mhm.
A, B, and C under teaching assistants, there's statements, there's not an or.
It can be changed. We took those, I believe, pretty much intact from the way they were. It's just changed department to TEA, I think.
Right. Well, and that was because the TEA certificate was both, was the same for
Right.
both originally, but once it transferred here, it became two separate regulations. They left in the 6 points in the driver responsibility program. They left in the 5 years, which we have changed. The driver responsibility was repealed in statute, and then we changed it to 3 after the provisional here. So if someone would take a look at
Yeah, that's a
that,
good
so it doesn't
question,
have
yeah.
to be both of those, but
'Cause
can be or.
If they're still issuing them, and, then.
Well, that's a question too.
Yeah. that-
Of who's actually, where does that submitted
We
on
can
that
find
side?
that out.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
But it is still in their Chapter 75 rules.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay. I'm looking at, unless I know all the board members have that work groups, it's the original work groups, the 5. And do we have time, Delia, to do this? We should, right? Go ahead and set up the times, or?
Yes, sir.
Yes, absolutely. It's hard to get this party set. We got you here now.
Sure, I appreciate that.
Let's do
Well, you know
this.
what, I'm thinking, I guess we're gonna have to figure out which one of these items belong to, let's say, school and instructor / curriculum. When can we do that to, in other words, itemize them and put them in the actual work groups? Mary?
Yes. We were talking with Nina.
Yes.
Was speaking earlier about having different work groups for schools versus actual driver training.
Sure.
I don't think, and Cindy Jo was talking about that as well. That's not how we have it set up now. I need to actually look at the groups to see who is coming from which world to see if we want to change that. And we need to have another work group meeting to, I don't have one in front of me.
You're thinking about changing the work groups?
No,
We need the green group.
we need the green group. Who's the green group?
That was the non-curriculum.
Okay,
Yeah.
Della has named you the green group.
Yeah, there was the enforcement that was red back in the day. We had the red, green, and yellow. The yellow was more of the curriculum that was going to tackle the curriculum. The schools and instructors and everything was Cindy, Joe, Garrett, Kevin, Knapp, Carlos Reyna, Rick Benavides, and Nina. Same.
We're gonna keep. What was it, Cindy?
Is that what you're calling green?
Yeah.
Okay.
When it was color coded.
That's right.
I know, but I'm trying to remember if mine was
What color
green
you
or
were,
not.
yeah.
I remember lots of yellow.
Brian Francis, but Dale, wouldn't we just return these rules back to the committee from which they originated?
And that was the
Work
green group.
Okay,
Green group.
groups, that's
So-
all of them, okay.
So Nina, we will discuss our discussion later.
Okay.
So,
If
Mr.
I
Chairman,
understand you correctly, Mary, then you're going to determine where these items are going to go?
Yes.
Just like we did
Yes.
before?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
You'll take care of that, that's great.
And
you'll-
apparently it's the green group.
Yeah.
Which we could not remember what green stood for. But it's gonna go back to the same group.
Okay. Anybody have any questions pertaining to the work groups or anything that we've done? Can we discuss then the dates for the, are we looking at the date that we're going to meet again? Because we already have October the 20th at 10 a.m. is the next time that we're supposed to be meeting.
correct.
But obviously, you'll let us know in the work group dates, you'll contact us, so we're
That's
not going to
correct.
really discuss that right now. Anybody else have any questions pertaining to anything? I don't think there's anything else. Brian?
I have a question, Carlos Reyna. The October 20th meeting, that's just pretty much a general open meeting. It's not an advisory committee meeting, is it?
It'll be an advisory committee. We'll post it because there'll be a quorum of members here. So you'll be sitting here. We'll probably have the board engage and a facilitator. So it won't look like your traditional meeting, but we're going to treat your presence here as if it is. So there'll be an agenda, probably open up with the chair, and then turning it over to Ray and his team to kind of facilitate and really encourage a different dialogue and exchange than you normally have at the meetings.
Will the public be limited as to when how much they can speak, or will they be able to?
They're going to be able to engage. And
Good.
we've done some of these in the past with the air conditioning group, and it's more of, like I said, it's more of a dialogue and an exchange of ideas and information.
There
And Ray
won't
does a
be
great job being facilitator.
voting. You won't have anything to vote on.
Okay.
Yes.
You get to listen.
Okay, before I adjourn, any questions, any comments?
So we're not going to look at dates for the work group, or?
No,
work group
actually,
dates-
Mary's she's gonna make that
It's just a
determination of
few
when.
of you.
And this
so-
has to be done before the October 12th?
Yes.
Yes. I won't let you leave the room.
Well, you want to see, I'm booked between now and the 12th, so it's kind of
No,
like
I'm
very
like,
limited.
We could do it by phone. I mean, obviously, if you had some time.
Well, it's hard to be in one meeting and talking and.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll figure that out offline.
Anyone else before we adjourn? That's it. That's it. This meeting is adjourned.
Yeah.